Well, one thing or another here to start this thing, and there's been plenty to talk about. We've talked at length here, but you guys haven't heard it. With some issues with the stream here, it looked like it was fine on my end, and you guys weren't seeing anything, and then looked like I got it fixed again, but then realized it was our preview, so you guys still weren't seeing anything. Well, we are now live, and we are here at Road America for the Roar before the before the COR, and we've had a lot of interesting things go on so far. Both pole sitters have to fight their way back. Thomas Fisher, the pole sitter for the MX-5 class, had some computer issues and needed to get back in here, and looked like he just barely missed the start, missed the grid, had to start from pit lane. He had to fight back, but he's back there getting closer to the group here. He is in 5th, but you see him right back there in the distance trying to catch up to the top 4 who are in a class of their own, no pun intended. And then over in the GT4 class, we were talking to Aaron Smith before the race, and I'm not sure if between talking to him or if he just missed it himself. Either way, he missed the grid as well, had to start from the pits. He has made it up to 3rd place already, but still 9.7 seconds behind the breakaway of Jack Stoneman and James Pierce, and they've been putting on a heck of a battle. They have not been more than 0.3 of a second, I don't think, away from each other this entire race. Seems like every time we look, one or the other is leading the lap. It's going back and forth every single lap, and the MX-5 has been the same. Right now, it is David Tilford as your leader, but between bump drafting and some heavy drafting here on the front stretch, the lead has changed multiple times as well. Barland, we're joined in the booth by Tyler Skozen. Tyler, it's a special event, and I guess we had some special things happen to the broadcast here to get this thing started. But either way, we're live here, and we're 15 minutes into this 90-minute race.
Yeah, we are. So glad everybody can join us here, finally. But yeah, it's been a pretty decent start to this event here. Obviously, haven't missed entirely much. We still have plenty of time to go here, just under an hour and 15 minutes left here. But right now, it's been domination right now for Jack Stoneman, James Pierce in the top 2 right now, driving away, continuing to dominate right now in the GT4 class as well as overall right now. But like I was mentioning before, something that I want to point out highly with the Mazda drivers right now is that just how close they are and how competitive this racing is. I mean, I've been on this racetrack before, I've been in the Mazdas before, and they act like they drive on a super speedway even though it's on a road course, just because of how tight and close the draft is, that one little mistake for these drivers can change the entire complexity of their race. So overall, it's been a pretty solid event to tonight's race. Overall, I can't wait to see how the rest of it continues.
Well, kind of what both of the pole sitters here tonight were discussing and talking about was the fact that you can't pull away. This thing, like you said, they almost both classes drive a bit like a super speedway. We say that with James Pearson and Jack Stoneman clear of the field right now by 8.5 seconds over Aaron Smith, but you see right here in the MX-5s, there's nothing between them, and I've had experience driving all these cars. I typically drive GT3s when it comes to the special events and things like that, but you step down into the GT4s, and to me the GT4s drive like you would expect. They drive kind of like a GT3, but just a little bit slower, a little bit easier to handle, which typically leads to a lot of close, a lot of pack racing. It's really fun when you get a good group of guys together, as we see your 2 leaders coming onto the screen in the GT4 catching up to the MX-5 class, and it's getting spicy coming through here. This is the first time we're seeing the GT4s catch up and lap the MX-5 class, so at least you guys get to see that live for the first time, and a move right there as they're battling back and forth. Stoneman having a little bit of blinking issues, but he gets it back going. But when to get back to what I was saying, the GT4s seem like they should, but when you step down to these MX-5s, you think, okay, well, you go from the GT3s to GT4s, it's a little bit slower, about the same handling, and then you go into the MX-5s and you figure, okay, well, they're a little bit smaller, a little bit slower, it should be even easier to handle, but these little cars can be a bit of a handful, and the way that these drivers are handling them right now is fantastic. But I mean, they can step out on you. You can definitely get that rear end around a little bit as you see. I think David Tilford is not going to have a rear end by the end of this race, as anybody behind him has been pushing down this front stretch just about every lap so far. But we haven't seen too many passes for the lead lately in the MX-5 class, and I'm wondering if that has to do with the fuel mileage. These drivers only have a half a tank max for both classes. You think maybe a little bit of fuel saving here by these guys behind David Tilford?
Yeah, I would imagine that's most likely the case here. You know, these drivers don't want to be too aggressive with trying to pass many drivers. Like earlier, you know, before the issues with the stream, we had Peter Muller attempted to make a side-by-side pass for the lead on David Tilford, but got loose entering turn 1, made a little contact, resulting in the 997 going around. So yeah, I would imagine at this point in the race, yeah, there's still plenty of time to go. You don't want to, you know, take any unnecessary risks that you want to see. Yeah, here's the incident from earlier involving Peter Muller on the inside trying to make the pass, but just did not have the grip stick there on the bottom of the racetrack, allowing him to get to the lead, resulting in a spin. So yeah, as we continue to go through this race, it's going to be a lot of patience from these drivers, kind of like what Jack Stoneman and James Pierce were trying to do, getting around these slower cars. You know, you got to be careful with your moves. Don't be too aggressive. They'll get out of your way. They know they're slower. So it's just all about the timing, making sure there are no issues getting around any other car. But yeah, should be pretty interesting overall as we continue to see what these drivers continue to do. My experience in this, I've run the Mazdas plenty of times at Daytona. This actually track does feel very similar because of how fast and how tight some of the corners can be. Meanwhile, as an oval guy, I've raced in the NASCAR vehicles here a couple times. Not very good at it, but it's probably going to be a lot more different than the sports cars that we are seeing here. So it's going to be continuing to be a game of patience for all these drivers with an hour and 10 minutes to go, and then fuel strategy once we eventually get there.
Well, it gets a bit tougher when you have multi-class racing with a group like this so close together. You see right there, Renan de Lima coming up on the field here to lap them, and you got CJ Conklin right behind them. But if you don't catch them in a straightaway like they are right here, usually when you're in multi-class racing, you can pick off, you know, kind of one at a time. You know, you pick up one this corner, you get the next one, you pick up another one. They're having to pick off chunks of cars because it's one chunk of cars right now. You know, the top 4 is separated right now by just over a second. So it gets a little bit tougher when it comes to lapping these guys here in the MX-5s. I mean, certainly they're going to hold their line as much as possible, but you see how big the draft is here. The draft keeps you with them the entire way, and you cannot lose the draft. There's a little bit of a move there by Brock in the back. But, I mean, so far so good. These drivers are doing a heck of a job. Only have one casualty so far, and that is fellow broadcaster here, John Nobinger, as he had a bit of a moment earlier on in the race. And from what we heard, the headset died on him, and well, the car died on him after this hard impact for Nobinger early on in the race, and had to tow it back to pit lane from there. The other one is we do not have Dane Simpson here in the race, and he's got some family situation that he's going to take care of, and obviously family does come first. So hopefully everything is good with him over there, and thoughts and prayers out there from the Ciaran family. But we've got a pretty good race so far, and we're not really too far from the first set of pit stops and a third of the way through this race.
Yeah, pit stops will be coming up here. That's obviously going to most likely put a little bit more separation on these drivers because these drivers have yet to make a pit stop in this race, so some might not be as used to entering green flag pit stops and entering pit road as easy. It's a little bit simpler on this racetrack. As you can see, just on the left side of the screen is pit road entry. So you have it on a straightaway. You just got to make sure you time your braking. You don't overshoot it. No speeding, that's for sure. Meanwhile, the battle for the lead continuing here side by side. Here comes James Pierce now to the outside, trying to take the lead away from Jack Stoneman. Doing a nice job trying to wrap it, but goes a little bit wide. Nearly goes off the racetrack, but holds on to P2. But yeah, back to what I was saying with the pit stops here. I'll be watching especially these two when it comes to pit stops, whether Jack Stoneman decides to come in first and James Pierce decides to follow, because You're going to have older tires out on the racetrack, possibly losing time compared to a driver who just came out of pit road with new tires, making up time. So I'd imagine for these two, if we want to continue to see a close race, I would think we would see these two drivers come on pit road together here, but then it's going to be a matter of the drivers behind in the back in their class. So will the other drivers maybe stay out, try to play a strategy that the leaders don't, catch a miracle? I don't know. They got a 9 and then 20-ish seconds to catch up on the leaders. So we will see what it's like here with an hour and 6 minutes to go.
Up on board here with James Pierce as he tries to run down Jack Stoneman as we head in through Speedville, the carousel section of this track, and it's one where it will test your patience. Doesn't matter what vehicle you're in, it's just you gotta wait before you can finally really fully get on the throttle. And this part right here, I know you mentioned it multiple times, Tyler, the kink.
Yeah.
Especially here in the GT4s, but our viewing audience hasn't heard anything that you said about the kink so far, so why don't you go ahead and tell them how tough that small little corner is.
Yeah, so the interesting thing about the kink is that you're going straight, obviously we saw it there previously, and then all of a sudden it is such a quick right-hand corner. You basically do not see anything in the corner until you're about halfway through it. So the drivers are going to test their limits with how aggressive they are when they get to that corner. You're going to want to be careful because, I mean, running side by side in there is going to be crazy difficult, at least the way I see it, unless you're going super slow. But like we saw with James Pierce, when he went through the kink, he kind of missed the entry just a little bit and got on the throttle a little too early there, making him go off the racetrack just slightly, clipped the grass ever so slightly, but he had no big issue there. But that's going to be the tricky thing. It's going to be, when is the right time to throttle up? How long should you be out of the throttle and able to get off the corner there as straight as possible with as much speed? So it's going to be tricky. It's one of the fastest, most aggressive corners here. Yeah, should be fun. And if we're going to see any more incidents when it comes to drivers making passes, I would imagine that's going to be the corner where we'll see it.
I mean, most corners, when you get in them, you have a braking marker, you have a spot on the track, off the track, whatever that you're looking at, where you start braking and you have a kind of a turn-in point for the corner. The kink is more of one where you may brake a little bit, you may drag the brake, you may lift off a little bit. It's not really necessarily a spot that you're kind of looking for. You're just looking to try and get to that inside, but it's really a feel. It's a feel on how fast you're entering that corner. And you know, correct me if I'm wrong, there's about 100 different ways to take it, but you take it wrong that one time and you drift wide, you get in that grass, and you won't be taking it again.
Yeah, that's pretty much correct here. We'll see what it's like here for these two leaders as we're coming right up to it here. See, that's the other thing. It's so fast. You are on this straightaway here. And then we'll see what James Pierce does. We'll see both drivers, Jack Stoneman, hit the bottom pretty well, but you can see James Pierce kind of missed it just a little bit. Stoneman was able to get to that curve just a little bit better, allowing a much better drive off. And that's the other tricky thing, because if you get this corner really well, you will have a great drive off speed onto that straightaway that the drivers just came off of, allowing Jack Stoneman to put a little bit of a gap on James Pierce. And because the 238 did not have that great of a corner, he lost all that straightaway speed and wasn't able to get that much draft on Stoneman there. So yeah, it's tricky, but it is fun. And yeah, exactly what you said. There's a number of ways you can take that corner, but there's really only one way of hitting it right and making sure you don't wreck.
Well, so far so good. These drivers coming up on the 30-minute mark, and not too long. Again, tomorrow night is the COR Hour, which is a 3-hour event with the GT3 cars. Unfortunately, not going to be able to be covered by CRN, but still time to get into the event. The qualifying was already completed yesterday, but you can still get into the event and just start at the tail of the field, which our two pole sitters here had to start from the tail of the field anyway, starting from pit lane. And you can see him right now. We got Aaron Smith now 8.6 seconds back. He started this race about 12 seconds back, maybe a little bit more than 12 seconds back from the leaders here. He is now only 8.9 seconds behind the leader, so he is slowly but surely chipping into this lead. He's got the fastest lap of the race with 2:15.52, and consistently making laps better than these two leaders, not by much though, just kind of clipping away. A couple tenths here, a couple tenths there. He's got to run perfect laps just to reel in these guys, but they keep battling. They keep going back and forth for first and second place here. He's going to catch him in no time, and really there's still plenty of time. He's still got an hour of this race to catch up to him. And you take a look over at Thomas Fisher, who again had issues just getting in here. He's run very clean since he's got in here, and he's got one of the fastest laps in the race, and really probably the fastest lap in the race, all things considered, because he hasn't had anybody to draft this entire time. He's had to do this all on his own, and he's doing a heck of a job. You see him not too far from the field right now. He started about 6-7 seconds behind the field. He is now only 3 seconds behind Colin Winslow, and once he catches this pack, I think he'll finally be able to breathe down there.
Yeah, I'm sure he definitely will. And this is going to be interesting to see how he continues to approach this pack, because the way I see it, I mean, as an oval guy, I've been in plenty of opportunities where I've been in 2 different packs at a super speedway, where, example, there's 5 cars in a lead draft, and I'm either leading or maybe second in line of a second path, attempting to catch the leaders. And that's basically what Thomas Fisher is attempting to do right now. So the easiest way to explain it is that if the top 4 drivers continue to battle, which the last 2, Colin Winslow and Tyler Kokeko, which they currently are doing right now, that is going to allow Thomas Fisher to get close, because these 2 are going to continue to slow each other down, allow Fisher to get closer. As you can see, he's only 2 seconds back now. But now the issue with this is these 2 are starting to lose the draft of the top 2 here. So at some point, you can't keep battling. You got to eventually figure it out. You can't just keep running side by side. Keep running straight. Either push the front car as far away as you can, continue to keep as much speed as you can, don't make any mistakes whatsoever, and hopefully you can gain as much time as you can. Yes, this is exactly, okay, well, there you go, that's what you should be doing, continuing to push the driver in front of you to gain time, which they are currently about doing, as well as they're only about 1 second back. But the issue now is Thomas Fisher is right there. You can see him right there in 5th place. He's going to be with these guys, and now that there will be 3 cars in this second pack, they should realistically be faster than the top 2, and then once we have a pack of 5 together, then it's all the marbles are out. Who knows what's going to happen?
And really, I mean, anything can happen completely. You got Peter Muller back there, 11 seconds behind, another 10 seconds back to Alex Jaspers, but you've seen how close these drivers have been this entire race so far in the top 4, and there's not really any separation. So one driver makes a mistake, it could wipe out all of them and really throw everything up into the air. We've had some pit stops here in the GT4 class, and Jack Stoneman pits 1 lap later than James Pierce. He ends up coming out as your leader. So the GT4 class has all completed their pit stops, at least their first round of pit stops, and it's close to that 30-minute mark, maybe just over for some of them. So some may have to do a little bit of fuel saving this second stint to make sure they can make it on only 1 more pit stop, but we should be seeing the MX-5s come in very soon. You see the difference between Stoneman and Pierce still within a half a second of each other. Stoneman still blinking out here and there. Hopefully that doesn't cause any issues for him in the long run. We've seen it happen earlier this week in I'm trying to think of where it was now. It was Andrew Pileshi blinking out late in the race with I believe 2 laps to go or 1 lap to go, and ends up losing everything in VVR there on Thursday night, as he went from being the leader, blinks out and gets knocked out of the race and finishes in, I believe, 14th or 21st, way back in the field because of it. So, it's fun. It is absolutely fun. It's great running virtually like this and running with your friends, running with your competitors. But when you have something like that happen, it just, it's gut-wrenching.
Yeah, it definitely is. The pitch strategy has never been my forte, especially when it comes to racing. I'm always happy when I have someone there to help me out, figure out the strategy, because I mean, you got to figure out the fuel issue, save some fuel like some of these drivers might be doing. Meanwhile, maybe save some tires. That could be what James Pierce is doing right now. He's just casually hanging out behind Jack Stillman. Maybe he thinks he's a little bit faster, but doesn't want to put that much pressure on him right away. Doesn't want to put too much heat on the tires right away. But you can see there, he kind of overdrives the corner a little bit. That'll probably upset the tires just a little bit here. But yeah, once the MX-5 cars do come to pit road, I'll be curious to see how that separates the field, as the top four continue to stay in a pack together. Thomas Fisher, unfortunately, kind of like I expected, has lost this lead draft. Meanwhile, now there's a battle. Here goes Kokeko to the inside of Winslow now for the third position. A little bit of contact there, and Kokeko got into the grass a little bit there as well. Gonna try to make the lead here. Brooke even tried to make a fake attempt on Tilford for the lead, but now these two will continue to stay side by side. And yeah, see that? They're gonna lose just a little bit of time there on the top two, and a little bit of time will be gained by Thomas Fisher. So Kokeko's really hoping he can get by Winslow here for P3, because it seems like he's confident in his car that he is much faster than these guys, as he's going to, as you can see just up there, he's going to try to make the pass here on the inside. No, he decides to back out of it, hopefully get back in with the top two here. So we will see what Fisher continues to do here just now, about 2 seconds back from fourth place of Kokeko right now. But pit stops looming, we'll see what they do.
Yeah, and you see we're well past the 30-minute mark, so these drivers here in the MX-5 class will only need to make 2 pit stops for sure. It's really the GT4s, depending on when you pit, could be getting close to maybe you need to make a splash and dash at the end of the race. But you see this lead by the front four over your pole sitter, Thomas Fisher, is getting smaller and smaller, under 2.2 seconds right now, as he's doing everything he can to reel him in. And I mean, Tyler, talk about how tough this is for Thomas. He's been trying to chase these guys from the beginning of the race, but he's doing it again with 0 draft. These guys in the top 4 have been drafting each other this whole time, and they're not pulling away from Thomas. He is reeling them in.
Yeah, so it's really difficult for Thomas right now. His mind is probably going to be going all over the place, because you know you have a fast car. You're right there with the battle here with the other guys. You can see them. There are 4 of them right there in his mirror, but you just... Again, I'll throw in another super speedway analogy. Like, you might be the only car at the tail end of a pack, but you are just hovering on a gap between yourself and the last car in that draft that you can't get closer, and eventually you might lose a bit of that time here, as it looks like they're all going to decide to bring it to pit road. But Thomas Fisher, interestingly enough, is going to decide to stay out here, maybe to gain a little bit of track position here, pit the next lap. But the top 4 from the MX-5 class are up pit road.
Yeah, I mean, really the only time that Thomas has a chance to catch up to these guys is going into the corners. Once they're on the straightaways, that draft really comes into play, and you see the track map here, there's plenty of straightaways. So you got the front stretch here, you got the middle stretch, and even the long straightaway from the kink all the way down to Canada Corner is a great place for drafting to take place. So he's got to be absolutely picture perfect and very fast in and out of these corners just to gain any kind of time on him. Now we'll see if the overcut helps him gain a little bit more time, as all 4, Brock, Tilford, Winslow, and Kokeko all coming in together. It looks like Peter Moeller and Alex Jaspers pit on lap number 13, so they came in a bit earlier here. But another thing that I find interesting is not only did they all come in at the same time, but Fisher, again, has not had any draft. He's not had any chance to fuel save behind anybody, but yet he's making it longer than everybody else.
Yeah, so that's what I'm really trying to figure out here, and how it's going to affect him once he eventually does come to pit road and blends out with the other leaders here. So, I mean, when he was behind the top 4 the whole time, it's not like he was gaining time on them or really losing that much time, because he was 2 seconds back, so he was maybe... I mean, I doubt he was getting any draft whatsoever, but he was still in contention. He wasn't really losing much time once they continued to battle. So, I don't know. The way I look at it is, I mean, he wasn't able to gain time running by himself, and he's running by himself still here. Meanwhile, the top 4 were on pit road. So I don't really see how he would be able to gain that much time on the drivers in front of him unless he's just putting together like absolute qualifying laps, heater laps right now compared to the top 4, unless he just thought it was too risky to pit with the rest of them. Maybe he didn't want to try to gain so much on entry that he'd end up speeding, and then didn't want to have like a gaggle of cars leaving pit road or exiting your pit box, or again maybe accidentally speeding exiting pit road. So maybe that he's by himself, maybe he's got a little bit of a calmer mindset, as yes, here he is going to decide to come in this lap here. So we'll see where he blends out here compared to the rest. I'll be very curious to see if this strategy pays out.
Well, a bit of a development here in the GT4 class. You see, we've got separation. Jack Stoneman is starting to put together some banger laps here and stretching away from James Pierce, blinking at all. He's got a 2-second lead now over the 238. Aaron Smith still back there, but he is still 6.7 seconds behind James Pierce and still 8.9 seconds behind the lead, so hasn't been able to gain too much over this last maybe 10 minutes or so. As we take a look at the MX-5 drivers all in a pack, and this is what they can't afford coming into the final sector here. Thomas Fisher in pit lane, battle for most likely the outright lead here is still going to be with David Tilford. The question is, where is Thomas Fisher going to fan out? Here he comes out of the pits. They're going to be at full speed when they catch him, but they are going to be behind him, and what a turn of events. The 47 to the lead now. I will tell you that his pit stop was 8 seconds faster than the rest of the field. So, I mean, is that not taking as much fuel this time by to try and get out there? Is that not taking tires? That is a huge gap.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a couple different factors that could have, that could have led to this conclusion here. That obviously you just said he had a faster pit stop. Whether he took lesser fuel and all that, that remains to be seen at this current moment. But kind of like I previously mentioned, he was by himself, so it's not like he was facing any pressure from drivers around him. It's like he just came to do a normal pit stop or maybe even a test session. It's just like no big deal. And of course, the other thing is that the 4 drivers that he was battling with, they could have been side by side multiple times, allowing them to lose time, which is not at all what they could have afforded if they were all in a single file line just making up quick lap times. That was their goal, but we saw it when Thomas Fisher was coming off pit road. The back 2 were battling for position, and that wasn't allowing Tilford and Brook to be as fast with as many cars in their lead draft here. So plenty of things could have went on there, allowing Thomas Fisher to have now a 7-second lead. But now the question is, how will that change the mindset of the 4 drivers behind him? They can't afford to battle so much. They just got to put together heater laps as fast as they can, and maybe hope Fisher makes a mistake. So it'll be really dependent on the next pit stop and what they continue to do here with the remaining time.
I mean, you see on the screen there the pit lane times. He was 8.5 seconds faster than David Tilford on the pit lane. So he didn't take something that David took for sure to make that much difference in pit lane. But if you factor in that 8.5 seconds, he would still be in touch with the back of this field. So he clearly had a good in-lap and out-lap to be able to gain that much on the field. And meanwhile, back here is the field, and right there getting a little bit of a taste of GT4 action as CJ Conklin and Renan De Lima, battling for 4th and 5th right now, are going to fly on by them, as these guys have been the best battle on the track for the GT4 class the last couple laps, as very little separating them right now. And for some reason, I lost my interval. So we'll get that back right now. And there you go. You see, they are pretty much the only battle on the track. The lead now for Stoneman back out to 2.5 seconds. But man, it is Thomas Fisher pulling a blinder here and getting out ahead of the pack, which is led by David Tilford. Then you got Michael Brock, Colin Winslow, and Tyler Kokeko all right here in a row once again. But like Tyler said, these drivers got to stop battling each other. They just got to put their differences aside for the time being. They got to work together. They got to utilize that draft as much as possible. They got to catch his 47 or he's going to check out on him.
Yeah, he definitely will. And looking at the interval, they've gained at least the last half a lap or so. They've gained maybe about half a second. So right now what they're doing is pretty decent. But the tricky thing about that is everything they've been doing these last few seconds, they need to keep doing that. And they need to be consistent, because one little mistake, one little break of the draft could ruin all of their momentum that they've gained. And it could take a little bit of a process to gain that momentum back. So it could continue to take a different amount of time to catch up. Meanwhile, in the GT4 class, James Pierce, who's about 2.5 seconds back from Jack Stoneman for the lead, has brought it down pit road here. We will see how this now affects it. We just saw what pitting a lap early could do, but these top two were a little bit more separated here, so we will see what the difference could be like here for Pierce to Stoneman. But now he will have those fresh tires compared to Stoneman's older tires, so we'll see what their blend out will look like.
Well, if you notice, he did not come into pits at all. That was not a pit stop. That was a penalty for the 238. He has got 17 incident points, and he was forced to come into the pits. These drivers, once they reach 17X, they will have to serve a drive-through penalty, and then every 10X after that, they have to serve another penalty. And yeah, that is 17 according to SDK. He's got 17 on the nose. Aaron Smith is now in second place, and he is 8.5 seconds back, so still gaining a little bit on your leader. But he's going to watch it too. It looks like he's showing as 13 incident points right now as well. Those are kind of the top two guys, other than well, John Crane back here, who we haven't shown too much on the screen so far, but he is your leader in the clubhouse with 43 incident points so far. So he may not be leading the field, may not be leading his class. He's got something to fall back on. He's leading something. He's got the most incident points out there. But Tyler, we are halfway through this race, 46 minutes into it so far. It's been a pretty good one here. I know we got a bigger lead now in the GT4 class, but I don't know what to say about this MX-5 class. I still want to know what the difference was with Thomas Fisher, because whatever it is, you would think he's going to have a longer pit stop, the second pit stop. So I don't know what's going to happen here yet.
Yeah, so I've still been kind of just trying to figure out the overall difference in that pit stop for these drivers right now. And when Thomas Fisher came into pit road, he was about 2.5-ish seconds behind the lead pack for the lead. And that pit stop was about 8 seconds faster, and now he has relatively a 7-second lead. So he had that 8-second faster pit stop. So if he had the same amount of time on pit road as the top four, he would probably still be in 5th, but he would be much closer to that pack of 4. But yeah, that pit stop that he had, whatever he did, is what definitely set him apart, because without that, he would not be in this position. He would probably not be leading. He'd be with the main pack most likely, but yeah, I'm kind of puzzled still right now. But the question is, will that pack make up the time? And from when we've seen them last, it's still at 7 seconds, and they really have not gained that much time. So whether that's involved the teamwork or not, it has not helped. I mean, looking at the intervals right now, David Tilford is 7 seconds back, but now the 5th place person, Brooke, is now 8.7 back. So there is a lot more separation between these top 4, and that obviously is not going to help Tilford catch up, as we have a replay here with Michael Brooke, and that is exactly what they can't afford. Fantastic save though by Brooke there, but that just killed even more momentum that they may have been gaining, and now they just have to continue to work at it. push each other, help as much as they can with that draft, but it's going to be tricky. We're halfway done. It's going to be difficult. They're going to need maybe another miracle pit stop.
Well, and I guess the question is, will Fisher's next pit stop, will he have to make up whatever difference that that 8 seconds was, you know, whether it be taking tires or whether, you know, maybe he took a lot less fuel than these drivers and, you know, kind of took his second pit stop first, because obviously these drivers are only going to need 2 pit stops to make it to the end here in the MX-5 class, and they're not going to need 2 full tanks when they come into the pits. There's one that's going to be the full tank, and then the other one they're just going to need enough to make it to the end. Maybe he took that shorter pit stop first, and now he's got to, you know, make up for it on the second one. But I mean, right now he's putting in the laps, and he is faster, or at least just about as fast as this group that is drafting him right now. He's only about less than 3/10 of a second. Actually, yeah, 3/10 of a second slower than this pack that is trying to catch him right now. And I think these guys need to get a bit more of a move on. We're coming up on the 50-minute mark here. There's not that much more time before they're coming in for their second pit stops and then their run to the end. So it's getting very interesting here, but got to take a look one more time and check in with Aaron Smith. He is still doing everything that he can. Again, missed the start of this race, had to start from pit lane, and he is trying to bring that banana yellow number 70 to the front one way or another. Again, when he started, he was about 12 to 14 seconds behind the leaders. He is now 7.6 seconds, and it's just past halfway. So if my math is mathing, he's still got a shot at this thing.
Yeah, he's definitely going to have a shot at this thing. And one thing that I really wanted to highlight now that we're back at this GT4 class is James Pierce. Because if I'm being honest, when you said that, I was kind of amazed at the amount of instant points, because we haven't really seen him, at least from my vision, unless it was off camera, him making much contact. So my assumption is, based on all those incident points, is maybe it's definitely would be 1x off track limits.
Yep, it is.
Yeah,
Great.
so that shows how much he was trying to push to get the lead on Jack Stover. But now the question is, he's in 3rd place. He's 28.5 seconds back now from the lead here. How does that affect his mindset here? He's lost plenty of time, and since he's been on pit road, he hasn't been able to gain any time whatsoever either. So he's just got to pretty much, I guess, regroup here. The race ain't over yet. There's still 40-ish minutes to go here. Plenty of time. Could have a mistake by any of the top 2 drivers in front of him, but I mean, Carl, I'll ask you too. I mean, how do you think James is just going to have to approach the rest of this race when he was the fastest, if not the 2nd fastest car, and now stuck in 3rd?
Well, I mean, he's stuck, you know, 20 seconds behind Aaron Smith right now. He's stuck 30 seconds behind the leader. He just got to run his pace at this point. I mean, he is well out of the lead. He's got to hope that those leaders start making mistakes and they have a drive-through as well. I mean, Aaron Smith right now is at 14x, so he is only a few off tracks away from having to serve a drive-through himself. The leader, Jack Stoneman, now I take SDK with a grain of salt, because we've seen it be extremely wrong before. But I mean, we've seen James Pierce come through and serve a penalty, and he has 17x according to SDK. So I'm assuming SDK is picking it up correctly for tonight's race. But I mean, Aaron Smith 3 away. Jack Stoneman has 2. He is running absolutely flawless here tonight. It's going to take some major mistakes here from the 25 for Pierce and Smith to get up there. As you see, Smith now back 8.7 seconds behind, so had maybe a bit of a mistake again. Looked like he had another off track, still on 14, but yeah, these drivers as coming up on, I got very close right there going through. But I mean, looking over at the MX-5 class, they're doing phenomenal as well. I mean, the highest amount of X for anybody is Alex Jasper's back there in 7th place, but we've seen the Fabulous Four, whatever you want to call them, Tilford, Kokeko, Winslow, and Brooke, all together from the beginning of the race. The highest one of them in regards to X is 7 with Brooke, and we've seen him just go off track earlier and make 1, if not 2, fantastic saves in 1 right there. So some really clean fabulous driving from these drivers. As keep an eye here on Pierce, he has picked up a couple more incidents, and again, at the first 17x, you'll have to come into the pits and serve a drive-through, and then every 10. So it's not like he's got until 34. If he gets to 27, he's gonna have to serve another one. So he's got to be careful that he doesn't throw away third place, let alone his chance at the win here tonight.
Yeah, so, I mean, we're already getting to the end of the race, and based on what I'm seeing in the intervals, he's not gaining any time on the leaders, and he's not even gaining any time on second place, so there's no real necessary reason to continue to push on the leaders right here. So it's a race for those guys to just not bring it down to pit road again for a drive-through for incident points, because you don't want to pit for fuel, and then right after that you have to get a pass through for incident points. So they're gonna have to continue to watch out for that with 36 minutes to go right now. But yeah, great job so far for Stoneman right now. Not much incidents, as here goes dilemma here for the pass, not quite gonna get there on CJ Conklin for fourth place. But yeah, fantastic job for the leader right now, doing great, just running his own pace. Aaron Smith getting close on that penalty list, but like you said earlier, from starting on pit road into P2s, fantastic rebound for what he's gone through so far today. But this battle for P4 continuing to rage on, staying close, and we will see if Dilema can make a move on CJ Conklin for fourth.
We'll take a look back. This happened a bit earlier, and this is the 08 of Abhi Vishwasam. Gets off track here a little bit. A great save right there, but I think it was not too long after this that he had another moment, and we'll try and get up to that right now. And yeah, here is the moment. Hard impact into the wall, and he has since been in pit road and working on repairs as he backs up, gets across the track, and makes sure that nobody else is coming. But that's one of the things that I wanted to bring up. I mean, these drivers have now been out there for close to an hour. We've only lost one car. We've only lost John Domier, and that was, it looked like, and that sounds like it was because of a headset. So the fact that these drivers are still out there, still plugging away. I mean, yeah, we've had James Pierce come in for the, for the penalty to serve that, and John Crane has served quite a few penalties at this point, but they're keeping the car clean. They're keeping the fenders on it, and only one driver out of the race, possibly two with Abhi Vishwasam, but I think that's some pretty good driving, and it's a testament considering, yeah, the GT4 class is spread out a little bit other than the battle right here, but the MX-5s are not. They've been under a blanket from the beginning it was for first, second, third, and fourth, and now it's for second, third, fourth, and fifth.
Yeah, and unfortunately, they have just continued to lose time to Thomas Fisher. They just seem like they can't get a rhythm going right now to stay in the draft, work together as much as possible, unless, I mean, maybe they are just continuing to work together as much as possible, but because Thomas Fisher is all by himself, he's just running pace laps pretty much right now. He's pacing, but I mean, he's still quick because he's continuing to pull away. But Aaron Smith here in P2 trying to get around them is obviously not going to help these Mazda speed any better, because I mean, now look how much separation is between them. 1.5 seconds between second to fifth place. Aaron Smith is going to get by here. All these Mazdas now 9.5 seconds back here. So yeah, it's all going to come down to the last pit stop for the Mazdas. We'll see if Fisher maybe gets grouped back with these guys based on the difference of what he did on that 8-second faster pit stop. But it will be interesting to see. Should be coming up shortly here. 33 minutes, just over 30 minutes to go.
I mean, you got to give it to Jack Stone. He's Jack Stone, and he was absolutely fantastic battling with James Pierce pretty much the entire first run until the pit stops. And the fact that he's got the least amount of X in the entire field. He's leading the overall race here, and obviously leading the GT4 class, which speaks to his speed. But he's been absolutely flawless and consistent. Only 2X, and for all we know, it could have been maybe a mix-up between him and James Pierce at some point that they made contact. So he's been absolutely driving flawless right now, and he absolutely deserves that 9.3 second lead that he's got over Aaron Smith. James Pierce in third, Renan De Lima, CJ Conklin, your top 5 right now, but De Lima and Conklin certainly have a battle going on for the back half of that top 5, and then you see over in the MX-5. Thomas Fisher still waiting to see what transpires here after this second pit stop to see if he's going to lose that 8 seconds that he gained on the first one. But David Tilford has been leading that group for quite a long time from second place now over Kokeko, Brook, and Winslow. And then Moeller unfortunately had that spin earlier that we looked at. He is still back there in 6th place trying to do what he can and hoping that there's some issues for the top guys. But we're about to get to the 1 hour mark, and I think it's about time that we sit back, enjoy the sights and sounds here of the Roar before the COR, and turn these drivers up for a little. Love to hear it. Well, as you've seen there in the Love to Hear It segment, not a lot of love for some of these drivers, as the MX-5 class is certainly taking quite a bit of a hit. You see James Pierce getting in the back of Tyler Kokeko there, sending him around, causing some major damage. Kokeko had to bring it into the pits. He is still in the pits, back there in 7th place. Right there, you just see him right at the end of the Love to Hear It segment. Micah Brook getting loose and getting hard into the tire barriers out of turn number 1. He is in the pits. He looks like he is done for the race. James Pierce is only 2x away from another drive-through penalty, and the reason that is important, he is only about 26 seconds ahead of Renan de Lima. So if he gets another drive-through penalty, there is a threat that he could fall out of the podium spots here. And I mean, we've got 21 minutes left in this race, Tyler. There's a long way to go and a lot of corners in that 21 minutes.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot to go. Clearly, nothing has happened in that whole set. No, I'm just joking. Yeah, plenty of what has happened there. We're seeing a lot of drivers. I don't know if it's just pressure getting to their head or just the track is starting to change maybe a little bit, and their cars aren't happy for it. I mean, the battle in the MX-5 class, Thomas is still continuing to do a fantastic job right now, keeping strong, consistent lap times. Now, just under 9 seconds ahead of David Tilford, who has lost his drafting help. Now, he's basically going to just try to either match or somehow be faster than Thomas Fisher on straight up pace. And we still have one more pit stop for these guys to go here. I don't really see if Tilford can make that time up on the racetrack based on pure pace. So it'll all depend on what Fisher and Tilford decide to do here on this next pit stop, whether it can close that 9 seconds up right now. But GT4 class as well, really strong right now. Soma continuing to have a strong lead. Aaron Smith in P2, and Pierce, we'll have to see if he continues to get close to having another pass through right now, but not very close. 41 seconds back from Aaron Smith.
Yeah, and he is he's at 26 right now, so one more off track, one more X. He will have to drive through the pits one more time, and de Lima now only 20 seconds behind him. And we've seen de Lima and CJ Conklin battling together, but CJ has fallen off since then. He is 13 seconds back there in 5th place.
Oh, here we go.
And we got the final pit stop here for the MX-5 class, and this is a scheduled pit stop here for Thomas Fisher, so this is going to get him to the end of the race. I want to thank everyone for tuning in here tonight for the special event here, the Roar Before the Core. And unfortunately, Jennifer, we appreciate the comment there, but I'm sure that's not what you want to see about coming back there from the Love to Hear It with Michael having his issue there. But it's been fun. It's been a fun race so far. There's certainly been a lot of storylines from the beginning of this race to the end, and really, you know, from even before the beginning of this race. I know you viewers out there didn't get to see it with the stream having some issues in the beginning, but you know, talking to this man right here, our pole sitter in the MX-5 class, had issues getting into the session, and it kicked him out, was not letting him get back in, and unfortunately got in just as the timer ran down to 0 for gridding up, so he had to start from the pits. And man, he has made a heck of a charge to get back up there. He was leading coming into the pits right there, and unless for some reason his pit stop is a lot longer than everybody else is coming in, he should end up going back out as your leader as well. So what a drive back for the 47 of Thomas Fisher, and you can kind of say the same thing for this man here in 2nd place right now, still 7.5 seconds adrift, but he has done anything and everything that he can in this race to try and run down Jack Stoneman. But I see that he is sitting on 17X as well. So
right there.
I'm not sure if he needs to come in and serve a penalty or not, or if he already, I don't think he already has, because he's still within that time. Now again, you know, SDK, you gotta take it with a grain of salt sometimes. It's not accurate. I know we had a race, I think it was at I don't know if it was at Spa or if it was at Bathurst, but we were showing guys that had almost 100X when really they only had about 15. So SDK is not always correct when it comes to the off tracks, but yeah, right now showing Aaron Smith as 18. So it was accurate earlier with James Pierce, and if it's accurate right now with Aaron Smith, he's going to have to serve a drive-through penalty. So this could get very interesting. He's still got a good enough gap right now that he can serve that drive-through and still be in second place over James Pierce, since he's got a 44.5-second lead. But it pretty much takes him out of the running for any kind of chance to catch Jack Stoneman, who has not had any issues at all. 3X on the night. I mean, he's been absolutely phenomenal all night long and absolutely deserves the lead that he's got. But now we see the other MX-5s coming into the pits. Dave Tilford and Colin Winslow into the pits. We'll keep an eye on Thomas Fisher, see where he comes out in relation to the rest of the field.
Yeah, earlier you brought up how the second pit stop drivers will probably not need to take a full can of fuel here on this last pit stop, and we see Tilford and Winslow currently on pit road here. We will see where they blend out here compared to Fisher when it comes to their pit time here. Fisher now just passing pit entry here. Doesn't look like the top two are moving on pit road. No, they're currently still sitting here. Don't forget, the front stretch is very long here, but it doesn't look like it's going to change much here. Thomas Fisher is going to easily blow by all of these guys to take the lead back here, as now it looks like Tilford is now exiting his pit stall, crossing the pit exit line, but he has not gained anything. If anything, he has lost time on Thomas Fisher here as they exit pit road. Now almost 10 seconds up here on David Tilford and Winslow on pit road still right now. So not really sure what's up with Winslow as well, but it looks like this race for the MX-5 Cup is pretty much set. All good for Thomas Fisher right now with only 15 minutes to go.
Well, taking a look again here at Aaron Smith, it's showing him now as 20X. He is gaining on Jack Stoneman. He has not come into the pits to serve any kind of penalties yet, so if that's wrong, you know, he's okay and he's good. But he's been turning in some very good laps. He was almost a full second faster that last lap on Stoneman. So, you know, we just checked on him not too long ago. He was in the 8-second range behind. He's now only 6.7 back. So, I mean, this race is still far from over. 15 minutes left in this race, so you're still looking at, you know, a good 6-7 laps left in this race. It doesn't seem like much, but you see the traffic, you see the track map over there, and the traffic is kind of spread out all throughout the track. You figure Stoneman gonna catch the 12 here of David Tilford, who is now all by himself in second place, 10 seconds back of Thomas Fisher. But how about Peter Muller? He has made his last pit stop. We've seen him earlier. We've seen him way back behind the 4-car breakaway at the time. But that 4-car breakaway has kind of fallen to the wayside, as we've seen Tyler Kokeko get taken out there by James Pierce. We've seen Michael Brook get taken out by just a little bit too much gas going out of turn number 1 and hard impacted the tire barrier. But now Colin Winslow has taken himself out. But looking at the pit time, I'm seeing a pit lane penalty. 1 minute and 2 seconds was the pit lane time for the 19, taking him out of the podium. And Peter Muller, welcome back to the podium spots.
Yeah, fantastic recovery after that spin he had battling for the lead earlier right now. Doing a fantastic job. I mean, he's doing what Thomas Fisher's been doing pretty much all day, running by himself. Obviously, he was with the pack earlier, but ever since that spin, I'm sure that changed his mindset. You know, no need to be aggressive at this point, running by yourself. Don't have to keep pushing it, especially because drivers like Aaron Smith, who's had so many off tracks, James Pierce, who had to serve a penalty. I mean, there's no point of really just pushing it and going off track. Just running clean laps, consistent, smooth lap times here, and hoping that issues have happened in front of you, and that's exactly what has happened. Winslow with the penalty, Brook and Kokeko with an incident, and just like that, he is right back there into the podium spot in P3, but 35 seconds back here from Thomas Fisher. So still doing a fantastic job overall for these guys with only 12 minutes to go, and I'm continuing to look at the GT4 class. It is continuing to shrink.
Yeah, Aaron Smith's still on a charge. His incidents, according to SDK, keep going up. They're at 22 right now, so I'm really confused. I'm confused of what's going on right now. To quote Ricky Bobby, I'm not sure what to do with my hands right now. So, I mean, we're watching this lead get smaller and smaller. The last time by, it was about a half a second difference, and try and bring up the pit lane times here. I always bring up the wrong thing. But you see right there, the lap times between Stoneman and Smith, those last 4 laps, it's gotten a little bit smaller, the difference that he's gaining, but you see 0.9 seconds, 0.6 seconds, 0.5 seconds. Those are huge, huge chunks this late in the race. Last lap, a quarter second faster. So he is still eating into the lead of Stoneman. The question is Stoneman holding back a little bit? Has he had to hold back and maybe took a little bit less fuel on that last pit stop, and now realizing he needs a full lap more of fuel and kind of holding back and letting Smith catch back up because of that? Well, doesn't matter. Either way, Smith is on a charge right now, trying to get to the front and really to the lead that he's never seen at all tonight, even though he had the pole.
Yeah, I don't understand. See, now Stoneman, if I were to guess here, looking at the time difference here this lap, but
huge gains again.
I mean, huge gain, but it's just, see, Stoneman could be either doing two things. One, he's either saving gas, or B, he has a big lead, and only now, almost 10 minutes ago, he's just not pushing it. He's just running maybe some slower laps just to be safe. I mean, it's not like he's worried about incident points. He clearly doesn't seem to have very many, but
we don't know. Maybe he's got 24, even though it's only showing 4.
Yeah, that's very true. And Aaron Smith, I don't understand. I mean, this whole time we've been looking at him, this last like 5 minutes, I've seen him go off track and at least get an X at least 6 or 7 times, and we're an hour and 20 minutes in. I mean, how he hasn't served a penalty yet is kind of shocking. I mean, you could be right. Maybe the SDK is off, but still, I mean, just based on the visual eye, he's gone off quite a few times trying to gain here. And this last lap, it stayed about relatively the same. He's still gaining a little bit here, but you're right. It's not over with only now less than 10 minutes to go.
Yeah, I mean, whatever he's doing, off tracks or not, he is gaining time, and he is gaining on Stoneman and threatening to maybe go under 5 seconds here. He's gonna have to keep getting this at pretty much a second a clip just to be able to get him. You can see him now in the distance. We'll hop on board with the 70 here and show you that he can see Stoneman there far in the distance. We'll see it coming up into to Canada Corner here. Albeit briefly, you see the little blue streak right there going through Canada Corner. That is Stoneman ahead, and just only about 5 seconds ahead right now. So Smith still working on catching up to him, but the time is starting to run out. We got less than 9 minutes left in this race. But I mean, I go back to Muller over there, and even to Smith, and even to Pierce, trying to close this thing out. These drivers are battling right now. Each class, the top 3 get paid out. First place getting $50, second place $25, and then third getting 10, essentially getting their money back in third place. But these drivers have a lot of pride when it comes to these races, and even the drivers that are outside of the podium are battling hard, and they want to try and get the best finish as possible. It's the first ever running here of the Roar before the Core, so they want to kind of get out of here and feel like they've accomplished something, and feel like they've really battled for something. That's what a lot of these drivers are doing right now. Is it looks like Smith actually losing a little bit of time that last lap, and Stoneman finally getting back into the 15s. But I mean, for a guy like Muller, I'll go back to him. I mean, he was way out of this race. After that spin, he was mired back 14 seconds behind his next competitor for the longest time, which put him back in 6th place with less than 8 minutes to go here, 7.5 minutes to go. He is in a podium spot, and that's determination. That's sticking with it. That's just putting your head down, and even though you're in 6th place out of 7 drivers, you never know what can happen. And so far, just about everything has fallen his way. You'd love to see something happen to both Fisher and Tilford right away. I mean, everything else has happened to all the other drivers in front of him, but time's ticking away. I don't know if the win is in the cards, but I mean, just hell of a drive to get back up here into the podium spots.
I mean, yeah, you talked about something happened to Fisher, Tilford. I mean, if I were them at this point with only less than 7 minutes to go, you got an 11-second lead and then a 37-second lead on 3rd place right now. There is absolutely no reason to push this race car. You just need to run smooth, consistent laps. Try not to get any off tracks. Just be consistent with it. It's pretty difficult to do, but at the same time, to be consistent is a little tough to do. But Fisher, just like he's been doing all race, continuing to drive away a little bit more, doing fantastic. What a recovery he's had today. Just been running by himself, good laps, and it's allowed him to get back into P3. So even though it's a 3rd place, this I would absolutely consider a win for the 997.
Well, and just in case you thought Stoneman was kind of dead in the water and out of it, just ran his fastest lap of the race at 2:15.7 that last lap by. So yeah, maybe he had some lap traffic that we just didn't notice that he struggled with for a few laps. Maybe it was holding back, saving a little bit of tires just in case Aaron Smith put on a late run. Maybe he was saving fuel to make sure he could make it one more lap out there. Whatever the case was, he was a little slower for a few laps, but he has turned it back on now. With that being said, Aaron Smith did gain a little bit more that last lap, running a 15.61. Not his fastest lap of the races. He's ran a 15.52 earlier, but he gains a little bit more. But Stoneman now really finding a groove here late, coming up on 5 minutes to go. Tyler, this has been a blast of a race to cover here. I know there's maybe not that many cars in the field, and it's really kind of stretched out after the first set of pit stops, but that typically happens. It happens in oval races. It happens in road races that those pit stops, they mean a world of a difference.
Yeah, it changes the complexity of the race overall, and that's exactly what we've seen right now. You have drivers making pit stops, again, having penalties like we've seen a couple drivers have. We've seen incidents near pit road, like Pierce getting into the back of Kokeko there. Not sure if that was just a full-on pitting accident, but as a whole still, that's something that could be a major factor later in the race. And yeah, once you're on pit road, then it's a matter of, making sure you take managing your tires, which again, Stoneman could have been saving a little bit earlier. Now that he maybe thinks that he's good to go with less than 5 minutes to go, now he can just turn those heater laps back on, just run what he's been doing all day, continuing to pull away from the drivers behind. And yeah, I don't know. I'm still curious to see if Aaron Smith still has to serve that penalty here, because I mean he's gone off. So I don't know.
He's up to 26 right now. Pierce is at 27. So I don't know. I kind of give up on. I think SDK just kind of gave up as well, but. Again, another heater there for Stoneman, a new fastest lap of the race for him with a 15.63, but should be about 2 laps to go. It's going to be really close there. It should be 2 laps to go this time by as Stoneman crossing the start-finish line. Aaron Smith about 6 seconds behind, running a little bit slower that lap. James Pierce in 3rd. Again, I guess they are okay right now. I mean, according to SDK, Aaron Smith should have already had a penalty. James Pierce should have had a second penalty, but we haven't seen either of them come in at all. We'll hop over here to James Pierce, see if he comes in this time. No, he is not. So maybe SDK is starting to mess up here late in the race. But Renan De Lima and CJ Conklin making up your top 5 here in the GT4 class. Thomas Fisher, again, what a comeback from him as well. We talked about Pierre Moore making the comeback, but starting on pit lane after having the pole is already a gut punch to start with, and nothing of his control. iRacing kicked him out, would not let him back in, and just let him back in, I guess, in the nick of time, just to at least start this race from pit lane. But he's made at pit lane his absolute friend here tonight. His first pit stop, 8.5 seconds faster than some of his other competitors. So I'm not sure if it was not taking tires or what the case was. Doesn't matter. He's turned this into a fantastic drive. Got a 13, almost 14-second lead right now over David Tilford, Peter Muller, Colin Winslow, and Alex Jaspers now into the top 5 for the MX-5 class. But we're just about at the end here. Should be seeing the white flag at this time by. We'll hop over to Jack Stoneman as he comes through the final sector of this lap here, and we'll take a look at Barney as we got 2 minutes left in this race, so it's going to be tight. It should be the white flag this time by. I can find Barney here in the starter cams. We'll see what we're seeing this time. It's either going to be white flag, and yep, there it is, white flag in the air for Jack Stoneman. One more lap around Road America to grab the first ever Roar Before the COR victory.
Yeah, he's put on an absolutely fantastic drive. Stoneman, a person I know very well, good friend of mine here. Fantastic to see him out here on the racetrack and absolutely just dominating this field. He had a fantastic battle earlier with James Pierce, kind of going back and forth here between first and second place. But again, remember before that, they absolutely gapped the field. Were just in their own zip code. And then once he had Pierce have that penalty, having to bring it down pit road there, and obviously having good pit stops for himself here. It's been a good day overall. He's been able to manage the gap between himself and Aaron Smith on his recovery here, but yeah, just about nearing halfway here through the racetrack. Just got to continue to navigate through the corners. So he's got 5.5 seconds of time to manage with, so no real issues he's got to worry about as long as he continues to not blink them, but we've seen that all day. He should be good to go here as he get ready to take that right-hander, eventually coming up to the kink. And hey, like I said, fantastic day for him. He's dominated this race. Pretty good road racer. We've seen him in the other leagues like the GT series run really well. And just a few more corners to go. Fantastic job for this driver and this team.
And really a fantastic drive for all these drivers in the GT4 and MX-5 class as well. But, I mean, right now, you got the top 5 all on the lead lap. And I know it's only an hour and a half long race, and the lap times are over 2 minutes, you know, about 2.25 minutes here at Road America. But that's a heck of a drive. I mean, you still have to be well on pace to be able to keep it within within the same lead lap as the lead car. But this is the lead car. This is the man that is going to get it done, not without a little bit of fun here at the end as he's weaving back and forth. Your winner here in the GT4 class, the winner overall, the 25 of Jack Stoneman, going to take down the Roar Before the COR. Aaron Smith coming over the line here. He is going to finish in second. Heck of a fight back for him. James Pierce still rounding in the final corners here and going through Speedville right now. And unless he gets a penalty, who knows? And I guess it's not official yet until everybody crosses if Aaron Smith is in second. But James Pierce looking like he is going to lock up third place here. Over in the MX-5 class, going through the carousel as well, is the 47 of Thomas Fisher heading down to the kink. We talked ad nauseum of what his comeback entailed here tonight, and he's looking like he's on his way to doing it here by 14 seconds over David Tilford. As we watch James Pierce come through the final sector here, and another night of what could have been here for the 238 of James Pierce as he was up there battling, like Tyler said, with Jack Stoneman for quite some time, and it seemed like every lap for the first maybe 10 laps, 15 laps or so, it was back and forth for who was leading that lap. But it is going to be a unofficial third place here for the 238 of James Pierce. Brendan DeLima going to come home in fourth place the way it looks, trying to see where everybody is. As we still have some guys finishing out. Yeah, here it is. DeLima going to come home in fourth place. Your winner there in the MX-5 is finally going across the line. That is your winner, Thomas Fisher, in the 47. Dave Tilford now coming up the hill. He is going to come home in second place. Great drive by the driver of the number 12. And then Peter Muller Aston's going to be one of the last drivers out here on the track and getting it done in third place here tonight. Just got to get around the final corner. But Tyler, as I said, heck of a run by a lot of these drivers. I mean, really only a couple quote-unquote fatalities here tonight, as we had John Nomier early, Tyler Kokeko getting kind of punted there a little bit, and then Michael Brook unfortunately losing it there as well. But I think a fantastic job for these drivers just bringing it home tonight.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was a fantastic day. We had pretty much a little bit of everything. We had some really fast drivers, some really good battles throughout the field. Multi-class racing is always a ton of fun here. Tricky but awesome racetrack as a whole here. Had some incidents as well. A little bit of drama with some drivers going around getting some damage, like Nobinger and Visu Vassam as well. Kokeko's another one, and Brook. But still a fantastic day. Congratulations to Stoneman, Fisher, winning in their classes, as well as all the other drivers for putting on a fantastic show here in the World Before the COR. Tons of fun here. Should be a fantastic race in the main event here as well for some of these drivers competing. But yeah, fantastic day overall. A lot of fun.
Just waiting for your top three here for each of the classes to head on to the waiting room. But yeah, I mean, for the first running here of the Roar before the COR, a little bit lighter field than we would have liked, but they put on a heck of a race for both classes, especially over in the MX-5 class. For quite some time, it was 4 cars under a blanket with Thomas Fisher trying to catch him and trying to do everything he can, and it took some pit road strategy for him to finally get up to them, pass them, and drive off to the victory. But it was great. I mean, it was everything that I hoped it would be, and hopefully these drivers enjoyed it as well. As we wait for them to join us here in the waiting room, and then we'll get them up here and get them some interviews. But I want to thank everybody out there in the meantime that tuned in here tonight. If you haven't done so yet, hit that like and subscribe, and get you in touch with everything that's here and has to offer us. We've got some great league racing all throughout the week here on CRN, and a little bit of everything, a little bit of road, a little bit of oval, and possibly some dirt racing coming up here in the near future as well. But we got some of our drivers in here, still waiting for, looks like a couple more yet. But I believe we have our top three here in the GT4 class, so we'll start bringing them in here, and we will start off with our third place finisher here in, as it switches on me, third place finisher here in the GT4 class. And Tyler, why don't you go ahead and take the 238 of James Pierce.
All right, James, it's Carl and Tyler up here. You got us.
Well, yeah, I just don't know what I said.
Well, overall, James. Oh, are you there, James?
Oh, I'm in the. I was getting a beer.
Yeah.
You need one after that race.
Yeah, you definitely probably do, but definitely a roller coaster of a race for you there as a whole. They're bringing it home on the podium in P3, but I'm sure not quite the finish you were maybe hoping for there. Take us through the course of the race here for you.
Picked the wrong car to start. Classic James move there, forgetting what car I'm supposed to drive. So came in with zero expectations, had a decent battle there. Absolutely not comfortable with these cars at all. I don't like their brakes, so the battle there was a little sketch. Glad it was pretty clean, but then just not being there mentally enough today to keep the X's out. I had 2 drive-throughs, so that's kind of where that went. And not judging at all. Trying to give Tyler a bump draft, but didn't realize how close I was, so that's a problem. So I'll be paying him the 212 payment fund for the race. So other than that, that's really how that race went.
Yeah, definitely was pretty wild over there. You had your fair share of incidents, like you just mentioned there, but something I'm curious about, obviously we've seen races change as a whole, and this one an hour and a half. Can you take me through maybe what how the track managed to change? Like, was it getting harder to drive as it went? Was it getting easier to drive? Take us through a little bit of what that may have been like.
The track seemed to stay the same. There wasn't really much rubbering in to begin with, but I got almost, at least for me, I got less comfortable with the brakes and the tires on the GT4s since never having driven them before. So it felt the opposite of what it should have been. But the longer the race went, the less I felt well in the car. So just happy to survive after that point. But I think people were getting faster towards the end. I was running, I could basically without traffic run mid 215, so I was at least on pace, but everybody seemed to get their pace back, and Aaron kind of climbed back up there. So not really glad he didn't catch me on merit, so I can have that as excuse. So that's there. But Aaron got fast. He kept pushing. He got faster as the race went, so he was able to close that gap down. So I think people got faster. I think the race spread out a little bit too, so people got calmer. That's pretty much how that developed. I think everybody kind of settled into a groove, and once those gaps got made, I think they're probably not going to get closed down.
All right, James. Well, it was a really good drive for you in the 212 machine. Any shout outs you'd like to give here before we let you go?
202, of course, as always, and shout out to Tyler, who's gonna receive my money soon. I hope he feels better. I know that was a murder. Not my best effort in core, I'll give it that, but happy to just come out one piece.
All right, James. Well, we really appreciate your time here. Congratulations on a solid run there in P3. We'll let you go here, and hopefully we will see you soon.
You guys have a good one.
That is your third place finisher here in the GT4 class, 238. James Pierce. Second place in the GT4 is going to be the 70 of Aaron Smith. And Aaron, I guess that there's no better place to start off than, well, the start of the race. Was it the interview that had you miss a start? Was it thinking that maybe there was a session, qualifying session or something in between the practice and the grid? What was the case that you missed the grid here on the start?
Yeah, we got done with the interview, and as soon as I put my headset back on, I saw a missed start. So I might have been kind of screwed up from the beginning, but it was a good race overall. It took a 15-second gap and turned it into a 5, so nothing to be too upset about.
Yeah, I mean, what's the mindset at that point? I mean, you're kind of stuck. There's really nothing you can do. You have to start from pit lane and try and chase these guys out of there. But I mean, clearly head down, and you did a fantastic job. And really, barring one little mistake from Jack, and you might have been right up there for the win.
Yeah, I caught a couple of those slower cars at some really bad spots. I think it was all out of the carousel. I kind of did a little dance with one of them, cost me about 2 seconds. So it certainly isn't ideal, but it's good information heading into tomorrow. I certainly wasn't expecting to be that quick early on in the GT4, but if I had a little bit more time, I might have been able to make something happen.
Yeah, I think we've seen a couple times going through the carousel, you had to take to the outside. And how tough was it? I mean, multi-class racing is what it is. You're coming up on the slower class, and it's tough to pass. But typically, you're coming up on a class where you can pass a car here, pass a car there, one turn, next turn. But here with the MX-5s, and at that time they were grouped together so much that you're kind of catching a gaggle all at once.
Yeah, I don't really want to be the guy to slot in like dead in the middle of their pack and cut them off or anything like that. But there were a few points where I had to be that guy, and as much as I hate to do it, I had to get as much time back as I could there. And unfortunately, it just wasn't enough, but it was still all right.
Well, either way, I mean, a very ridiculously good drive back from being that far down, starting on pit lane, and he's still bringing home in second place here tonight, and really, again, not too far off from the leaders, all things considered. So. It's probably going to feel, kind of bittersweet here coming home in second.
Yeah, it's less than ideal, but I won't have to worry about it happening again tomorrow, starting 7th.
Yeah,
just need to find about a second and a half.
No interviews, and then no broadcast tomorrow, so you don't have to worry about us screwing you up at all if that's what the case was. But either way, congrats on your second place run here tonight in the GT4 class. Who do you want to give a shout out to or thanks to?
Well, I'd like to thank all y'all, the Core Racing League, for putting this event on, y'all for broadcasting, all the folks for watching. We had a pretty solid race, and hopefully we'll have a better one tomorrow.
Absolutely. Well, good luck tomorrow. Congrats on today. Go celebrate a little bit, and yeah, make sure you keep an eye on that when I think grids tomorrow.
10-4. Thank you.
That is your second place finisher here in the GT4 class, the 70 of Aaron Smith. Last but not least, in the GT4 is going to be your winner, the 25 of Jack Stoneman. Tyler, why don't you go ahead and take Jack?
Well, Jack, it's Carlin. You're a good friend up here, Tyler, in the booth. You got us.
Yes, sir. I got you, man.
Oh, well, hey, fantastic job for you guys. You kicked everyone's butts today, I would say. It was a fantastic race. You had a really, really fun back and forth battle there with James earlier in the race. Then once that issue happened with him, you basically drove off and you just were in your own zip code today and had a little bit of a close there battle between you and Aaron cutting the gap down there. But take us through the whirlwind, basically 3 parts of your race that you had there.
Well, first of all, I'm just gonna say right off the bat is I had absolutely low expectations going into this race. I maybe did, I don't know, 7 laps of practice before the race even started. So I thought to myself, yeah, this ain't gonna be too good. But you know, yeah, I had a fun little battle with James there, trying not to kill each other, getting around the Miatas. It was a little scary, but yeah, I felt bad for him. I wish we could have had a battle a little bit longer. So it sucks that he had that drive-through penalty, but it is what it is. But other than that, I was kind of worried about fuel at first. I thought maybe I wasn't going to make it towards the end, but then I realized I was going to be okay. My only other worry I had was having Aaron behind me after my second stop. It looked like he was catching up, so that's when I just put the foot on the metal, or foot to the pedal, and just went and gone. I just had to push as hard as I could, making sure I could pull away from him and secure that victory. But overall, this race was so much fun, man. I mean, I'm tired. My back is sweaty. My cat is screaming for me right now for attention. But yeah, I had a lot of fun. So that's basically about what happened.
And don't forget
Well,
Hannah.
Jack-
Don't forget Hannah. She was out there rooting for you as well.
Yep. Yeah, we saw her in the chat there congratulating you there. But something else that I was really curious about throughout seeing your progression of this race was it had to have been your mindset, because again, you were separated by just a few tenths with James earlier in the race. And then after that, you had a wide margin. You had many seconds of lead over James at times, and then Aaron there towards the end. And then you had that pressure by Aaron towards the end there, as you were talking about with the fuel. So take me through what your mindset and how that evolved and changed throughout the event.
Going into the beginning of the race, when I was battling with James, all I was really thinking about was just trying to keep him behind me, trying to keep him in my mirror. I was always just switching back and forth between looking at the road, looking at my mirror. If he wanted to make a move, I'd be prepared for it, trying to cut the draft off. I was very hyper-focused, but once James was gone, I basically clicked on autopilot in my brain, and I just drove. I was just doing hot laps the whole time. Even with Aaron catching up after the second stop, I was still in autopilot mode. I was trying to do the fastest laps that I could, that my brain could do possibly. So at first it was stressful, but then after a while I learned to just calm down. I got some good communication by one of my good buddies, Jack Peterson. He was just kind of telling me to do your own thing, whatnot. So I appreciate his support. But yeah, just autopilot. That's about it for me.
Well, it was a good day overall. Dominated the race. Fantastic performance for you, Jack. Congratulations on the win here. Go ahead, celebrate with good old Hannah and Cat Truffles and all those people on the team that support you here. And hopefully we see you here again soon.
Sounds good, man. Thank you so much for this event. This was so much fun.
That is your winner here in the GT4 class and overall the 25 of Jack Stoneman. We'll turn it over now to the MX-5 class. Second place is going to be the 12 of David Tilford. And David, I guess, first we got to talk about the 4-car battle, the 4-car breakaway in the beginning. And it just seemed like nobody wanted to get away from each other. You guys were just a train for the first half of this race before some incidents later on clearly broke you guys up. But it seemed like once you got to the front and you were pushed to the front multiple times, nobody wanted to get around you.
I mean, I think they wanted to a few times, but no, I mean, I was just gonna, I let people get side by side, and then they couldn't quite get the exit, and I was able to stay out front. And I don't know, man, that's Miata racing for you. I guess I'm used to it after 3 seasons of it with Chris Hamilton over in COR, just trading blows back and forth. And yeah, man, you just gotta keep your head and stay out there. Even if I got passed, it wasn't gonna be that big a deal because you can't get away with these things.
Yeah, especially on a track like this one, there's pretty much 3 at minimum big long straightaways that you guys can draft each other. But We talked to the GT4 drivers about multi-class racing and how typically you kind of catch one car at a time. You can pass one car this corner, one car the next corner, so on and so forth. But when they were catching you guys were just, like I said, you were trained. You were just one car after another, 4 cars deep, and it made it a little bit harder for them to kind of pick and choose when to get around you guys. So how was it from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, you didn't always see them in your mirror because you got 3 other cars right behind you. So you had to take a good close look at your relative and the track map if you have it, and know what's going on back there, and when not to dive one to the inside because you have a GT4 coming.
Well, I mean, you guys seem to be the class of the field, and with Thomas having to start from pit lane, it looked like you guys, should have this thing, but he was gaining on you guys for quite a while before that first pit stop, and then all of a sudden he has a lot quicker pit stop than you guys. Do you know what transpired there? How he got the big jump on you guys? Because you couldn't really run him down after that.
Yeah, I know exactly what happened afterward. At 20 liters, the Miatas need to go grab another can or syringe or whatever, and none of us knew that. So, except for Thomas, so he cut it off at 20 at the first pit stop, and that gave him, I don't know, 8 or 9 seconds.
Yeah, about 8, 9 seconds. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So that really pushed him to the front. But he had the speed anyway. I mean, it was inevitable he was going to catch that pack. It just, might have made it a little more interesting with him joining the 4 of us instead of just getting by in the pits. But either way, it worked out for him, and that's something to note going forward for these MX-5s. They get 20 liters of fuel per go, and then the pit crew has to go back and get another one. So that's something to look out for.
Yeah, it's like they got to run to the gas station and go fill up and get some more. It takes that long, but you're the only one that is kind of left standing of the 4 that were running all together between some incidents on the track, some speeding or issue penalties on pit road. You're the last one standing. So I mean, do you attribute it to all the MX-5 driving you've done so far in COR, or did you just kind of feel comfortable out there?
I definitely attribute it to racing in COR for 3 seasons, 30 races in these things. I mean, it just the key is to stay calm, and staying calm means less mistakes and less harsh on the tires, which is kind of key later in the runs with these things. If you want to catch someone or get away, you're going to need a little bit of a tire delta, not heat them up too much. So yeah, I mean, I got to credit racing around with Chris Hamilton and all that time in COR.
Well, you get it home in second for the first ever roar before the COR. How do you feel about the finish in second? Do you feel like it's kind of the best you could have done considering the speed that Thomas had here tonight?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was going to be happy with a podium and very happy with second place, and Thomas is just definitely a cut above. So pretty happy to be here talking to you guys. Second step of the podium, and yep, looking forward to tomorrow night. And if I'm up here in second again, I will be shocked. So
well, you will have to deal with him again tomorrow night.
Yeah. No, yeah, he's there tomorrow, and we might have a little bit of rain to deal with as well. So
absolutely,
that'll be interesting.
Well, congrats on the second place here and everything that you've gone through in this race, whether it's getting bumped to the front or having to fight these guys off, or realizing that maybe you got to pay your pit crew to have a second can a little bit quicker to get in the car. But either way, congrats on the second place. Who do you want to give a shout out to or thanks to?
All the guys that ran in COR, all the seasons at MX-5, definitely shout out to everyone, Chris and all the other guys that made that very fun over the last year or so. Shout out to my family for letting me do this thing on the weekend, and of course to you guys up in the booth for putting on a little bit of show.
Absolutely. Well, you guys put on a heck of a show for us, so it made it a lot easier to broadcast. So we'll let you go celebrate with the boys, and we'll see you next time.
All right. Well, see ya.
That is your second place finisher in the MX-5 class, the 12 of David Tilford. If you're wondering, unfortunately, we weren't able to get Peter Muller up here for an interview for his third place finish, but certainly well-deserved third place here tonight for the 997. Last one we will get to interview here tonight is the winner of the MX-5 class, and that is the 47 of Thomas Fisher. Tyler, why don't you go ahead and take the 47 here on the comeback win?
Well, Thomas, it's Tyler up here, and hey, I mean, we spoke earlier today, so clearly not much change here. Fantastic drive for you with the comeback race here, having the issues there at the start and just playing it smooth and eventually having a lot go your way, fall into place, come on the pit road. Great pit stop overall, and just ran yourself a really smooth race. So go ahead and take us through your race for today.
Well, thank you. To take you through it, I mean, as you heard before the race, I wasn't sure I was even going to get into it because I had left the session, and when I would try to reload, it would just get to like 5-10% loaded and then red on the screen saying, failed to connect. Eventually I got in, but it was too late to grid up. So, which turned out to be actually kind of a good thing because I was sitting in the pits, not burning any fuel while they were doing their parade lap. But then rejoined way out of the draft. I had no idea what to expect from that point. I did not have high hopes for it, but I just figured I'd drive as fast as I could while saving some fuel. And jumped everyone in the pits with the pit strategy, because in these cars, they fill with 20-liter cans. And I did not fill 20 liters because it takes like 4 or 5 seconds to continue refueling. And from there, it was just drive smooth, a little sketchy with changing left side tires. But after that first stop and warming up those left side tires, it was kind of head down and bring it home. I didn't know if I was going to stay in front after the second pit, but yeah.
Yeah, well, good job overall there. I want to go through that first pit stop there that you just mentioned there, because that was something that puzzled me for quite a bit there. When you came into pit road, you were, I think, about 3-ish seconds back from the lead, about 2.5 seconds back from the lead pack. You end up doing a slightly different strategy there, and then once you blend out with the rest of the guys, you're out in front by almost 7 seconds. Were you kind of, I mean, you knew what to expect maybe on the pit stop, but were you expecting that big of a buffer between you and the second place driver?
I was not. I expected to maybe just get up into their pack. That was what I was thinking by doing that strategy. Is I underfueled, and that was the whole point, was to get in their pack, and then I can maybe fuel save a little bit more and maybe jump them on the second pit stop. But I was not expecting to come out of, for them to come out of the pits, 7 seconds or whatever it was, a pretty big gap. Definitely not in draft. Just, it took me by surprise.
And one of the other things that happened, especially it was before that first pit stop, that I was really impressed with what you were doing and how you were able to manage it, was when you were sitting there in 5th place, managing to catch up and run consistent lap times, and you were just able to just kind of hang out there just behind that top 4 there, who were all running in the pack, and you were just running by yourself. So how difficult was it to just run by yourself with no drafts, but even manage to keep up with that lead pack, meanwhile they're in a group?
It's not ideal, that's for sure. You want someone there to draft with, someone to maybe bump you, or to bump someone to push forward. When you're on an island like that, it's really tough to make up time. So I just had to push, and like I said, I also was trying to fuel save some because I wanted to do 15 laps, I think it was, whatever it was, one more lap than full push. But yeah, I had to push really hard to keep up with them, and there's a lot of places for a pack to take off on this track, because you got the front straight after turn 3, and also the run from the kink to Canada corner, where you can push someone to be almost a second faster per lap. I couldn't see them, so I don't know how much they were pushing, but I had to push myself pretty hard to just keep up. And later in that run was when I was actually starting to catch up, so I might have been I'm just guessing maybe a little bit better on tires and had a little bit more grip under me and late in that run. But for the longest time, they were either taking off or I was just barely, keeping up.
Yeah, and of course, keeping up was one of the things. And I haven't studied everybody's iRacing career, but at this point, I mean, almost missing the race to restarting on pit road and then being able to have such a comeback like this. I mean, this victory has to rank towards the top, one of your greatest racing moments, I would assume.
This is a lot of fun. This is really cool. Totally unconventional in every way, this race. So that makes it pretty special for sure.
Well, Thomas, it was definitely fantastic to see you out there put on a great recovery run here. Any quick shout out you'd like to give here before we send you off?
Yeah, shout out to my dad, and shout out to my team Satellite Racing and our partners, and shout out to you folks for putting on the broadcast and organizing the race. And yeah, that's it. Thanks a lot.
All right, that is your winner here in the MX-5 class, the 47 of Thomas Fisher, and not for a lack of everything with his system trying to keep him completely out of this race to begin with, and not letting him back into iRacing. But man, it's a good thing he got back in. Probably at least 6 of his competitors that I can count here that wished those internet gremlins or iRacing gremlins would have kept working on him and put him back a little bit further. But man, heck of a drive back here. But we'll give a full rundown of the finishing order here real quick. And in the GT4 class, as that's not it. There we go. So GT4 class, as has everyone all grouped together, of course. But Jack Stoneman gets the win. Aaron Smith in second. James Pierce, Renan De Lima, CJ Conklin, your top 5. And then you got John Crane, Abiy Vishwavasan, and John Nominger rounding out the field. In the MX-5 class, it was Thomas Fisher taking the win. Dave Tilford, Peter Moeller, Colin Winslow, and Alex Jasper's your top 5, and then Michael Brook and Tyler Kokeko rounding out the 7-car field. It was an absolute blast covering this thing here tonight. A lot of these drivers are going to be competing tomorrow night in the COR3 3-hour event with the GT3 cars. So we'll see who can take that one down for the first running of that one. But man, I can't say much more than these drivers put on a fantastic run in both classes here tonight and put on some really great racing and close battling. Very little incidents with each other. A little bit of incidents running off the track, but it was a great watch here tonight, at least from my point of view. Hopefully everyone out there, you enjoyed it as well. If you haven't done so yet, hit that like and subscribe. Tyler, I want to thank you 100% for jumping in here with me. This was a blast to do here with you. But for Tyler Skozen and myself, Carl Handwerk, we'll see you at the track.